So let's first have a look at everything you need to get started. Obviously, you will need a decent microphone. For now, we've selected the Neumann TLM-103, which is a well-known studio standard. Microphone stand is the next thing you'll need. Studio mics tend to be heavier than stage microphones, so get a solid one. A shock mount is optional, but it really does help to keep rumble away from your microphone. And this is a pop shield, or a pop filter, or a pop screen. This is to protect the mic from plosives. And this is very important as well. Decent headphones are a must. When you record with a microphone, you must turn off the loudspeakers to avoid feedback.
Tip 1 is mic technique. Now, you're going to hear a lot of people say that you have to be X amount of inches from a certain microphone. That is all horseshit. Don't listen to that. It all depends on the microphone, the performer, and the performance. Some microphones have a really big proximity effect, and if the singer already has a lot of bass in his or her voice, you might want to back them up a little. Tip number 2, getting a perfect vocal balance in the singer's headphones. Now, 9 out of 10 times, if you ask a singer how their headphone balance is, they're going to either say, oh, it's perfect, or they're going to say, turn my vocals way up. And what usually happens is it's instinctual for vocalists to want to have their vocal really loud in the phones. And then what happens, of course, their intonation is all over the place. So really work with them. Take the phones, listen to their balances. Play around with the different music and vocal balances, and get to something where they really are singing perfectly in tune, where they're comfortable. Step in, make sure they don't, try to push their vocal too far above the music. It's one of the #1 reasons why you have intonation problems. It's not always the singer's fault, although sometimes it is. Vocal tip number 3. Finding the right microphone. Now, this might seem obvious, but it's not just about finding the right microphone for the singer's voice. It's finding the right microphone for the singer's voice that fits the mood and production of the song. Kelsey might sound really good through a really bright, airy microphone, but if she's singing a 70s style Adele tune, it's not going to fit. So that's why I recommend auditioning the singer on different mics in the track you are recording.
Distance is key. Sing like that, you'll get a much better performance. Number 2 is gain staging, and this is so critical for a lot of newer recording engineers, people that are getting into this, people that are just playing around in their home studios. No one's taught them about signal flow and gain staging. And this sounds so boring when I bring it up in mixing or whatever, but this is like the easiest thing you could ever do and have huge impact in your recordings and mixes. And here's the problem is most of you out there are recording things too loud, okay? You're just simply recording things too loud. So you've turned up the gain on your preamp or your audio interface, and that meter is jumping real close, and it's just super hot. You don't need to record things that loud.
Now, gain staging will make sure, or what gain staging is, people get kind of mixed with leveling, but gain staging is where you want to get the appropriate level going into your hardware or your interface, stuff like that. That way it doesn't distort, clip, or nothing like that. Now, in digital, clipping is bad. We don't want to clip, and I see a lot of people who record and they're always distorting and clipping their stuff. If you're using analog gear, it's a little bit different because analog clipping is actually good because it has infinite headroom, blah, blah, blah. Not being technical, but we want to make sure we have the appropriate level going into the DW. That way we can get the best audio quality we possibly can. So, for example, I got a little beat put up here, and I have my microphone set up here. I'm gonna switch to my microphone in just a second. First, I want to talk about your beat, because a lot of people turn their mics up because their beats are too loud. Now, don't do that. That is dumb. Do not do that. What you can do to help yourself out with that is actually turn your beat down. So for example, I'm going to turn this beat down a few dB. So let's see how loud it is. And I'm going to turn it down to its an appropriate level. So, and if you see right here, if I click on the beat, it show you where it's peaking at. So I usually try to aim for in between -6 and -12 dB. It's a personal preference. That's really up to you. So set in the gain staging of your actual microphone, you want to stay within the green level of your interface. So for example, I'm going to show you my interface control panel. That way you guys can see where I got set up. So as you see, I have 30 dB of gain on my microphone, and you can see as I'm recording or as I'm speaking to it, it's at the green, so like I said. So that's a good level, because that's going to give you enough headroom, going to give you enough a better signal to noise ratio, all that good stuff. This is where you want to be at. Now, there isn't no really definite amount, I can say, but you just don't want to be up in the yellow red. So let's show you the incorrect way to gain stage, because a lot of you guys be doing this. So if we go back to my actual my interface right here, I like this interface because I got electronically controlled, stuff right there, digital control. So most of you guys will record too hot, and I'm gonna show you what happens when you record it too hot. So we'll just go ahead and create that up till it's like peaking. Yeah. So this is a bad recording. As you can see, it is clipping all the hell, and because I recorded clipping, I didn't gain stage right. I cannot recover this. It is gone forever. There's no point. Like, no matter how much I turn it down, for example, it will never be unclipped or be undistorted. So as you can see,
so today I'm going to show you an easier way to approach compression on vocals so you won't be frustrated or overwhelmed. So here I have a track, and it's kind of, the mix is falling into place. Lead vocal has some EQ on it, and that's about it. And I want you to take a listen to the vocal, how it's kind of getting lost in the mix a little bit. And when you're mixing, you don't want to overthink things. If you can't hear enough of the vocal, just turn it up. Grab the fader. If this is the lead vocal here, grab the fader, turn it up. Now, we could do that, and that might solve some of the problems, but I've already done this in the mix, and what I know is that it'll make the quieter parts nice and louder again, so I can hear some of those words better. But then it makes the louder parts a little too loud. He jumps out. And you can see that if you just look at his vocal track. This is the waveform, the representation of his vocal performance. You can see you've got really quiet parts here. You have louder parts here. Even this one phrase here, you've got a wide variety of range. You've got a little bit of vocal here, and then he explodes up here. This is why vocals need compression. They're all over the place. The human voice is very dynamic, meaning it can be quiet for 1 second, loud for another second. So that's why compressors are so often used on vocals, because they can contain that volume and give you more even performance. What if you had a way that you could automate magically the quiet parts of the vocal to come up in volume and the louder parts of the vocal to come down in volume, so they were a little better matched and they were all about the same volume, so that the listener could hear every word and syllable the same? Wouldn't that be nice? Well, that's what a compressor does. So that's how I view compression. It's like an automatic volume fader. So I'll grab a compressor here. Let's grab the stock Avid compressor. It comes with Pro Tools. And, you might see compressors, they all look very different, and some have very few knobs. I'm not going to go into like the 1176 or the LA2A or any of those type compressors today. I want to look at a standard DAW compressor where you have more of the knobs, so you can feel comfortable. If you feel comfortable here, you'll feel comfortable almost anywhere. And the knobs you really need to pay attention to are threshold, attack and release, ratio, and gain, or otherwise known as makeup gain or makeup. The most important one is threshold. If this threshold is all the way up at 0, even though you have a compressor on your vocal, it's not going to do any compression. So what you need to do is set the threshold, to a point where it's just below where it's cresting. So I'm going to say where it was by default. It'll be just a way to gauge if it's a good starting point. And what we're really looking for, though, is the gain reduction meter. I don't really care where the threshold is. The numbers don't matter. What matters are how much gain reduction we're doing. That's the most important thing. How much are we turning down the vocal? Now, when it comes to ratio on vocals, a good rule of thumb is 2:1 to 4:1 are good ratios. I'm not going to go into depth on what a ratio is here. I've got something for you that will help you with that in a minute. But in general, 2:1, 4:1 ratio is going to be a natural, not too aggressive ratio of how much it's turning down when the audio crosses the threshold. So this default setting here on my compressor is 3:1. I think that's great.